For image descriptions, this video will be covering the short description. And the short description would be something that's about 3 to 4 sentences long. There's some places that say 80 characters, some say 250, but the research I did and the videos I was able to find by visually impaired people, a couple of them said just a few sentences. So that's what we'll go ahead and go off of. And again, when describing the image, keep in mind what are the important elements that you need to get across to the reader, and then also the student's perspective. What do you want me to see in this image? So the first image we're going to look at, and we're in Canvas right now, a Canvas page, is this symbol for the element chlorine, and it has some text in it, and then of course the graphic itself has text on it. So the description underneath says a diagram shows properties for the element chlorine from the periodic table of elements, atomic number 17, element symbol Cl, element name chlorine, atomic mass 35.453. Now in this description, and in all descriptions with science and math, one of the things we have to keep in mind is about, are we given the answer when we're giving the description? And for math, I'll be able to better show that because being math faculty, I could know more of what I would want to say. For if you're in the sciences, in this case, I would say everything in the description is fine because it's already written as text on there. So if you're trying to ask a question regarding this image, when you're writing the description, you have to think about what's displayed for everyone else, what everyone else can see, but how you're wording it when you're writing it in the description as well. So I'm going to hit edit, and that description is fine as far as I can tell. And so there's two ways to approach this, and two different students had mentioned. One said they like the text directly underneath it because then the screen reader just reads straight up into the alt text and then goes straight into the text past it. No matter what, you do have to go into image options and put something. The alt text over on the right here is where we're going to write our description, or if you're preferring to write the description below whatever image you have, instead of writing it all in the alt text, because maybe you want other students to see it, and they won't see it in the alt text because that's what the screen reader will show. And also, just FYI, I discovered this when I was formatting some of my Canvas pages. It used to be that it automatically was that when you did the alt text, the title, and all the elements it had in your image options in Canvas was when you hit save, then when you hovered, it would show all the alt text. That feature is gone. You would have to actually change what's in the HTML, and you couldn't change it in the rich text editor. You'd have to do it on the HTML side if you wanted that to happen. But if it's something you want other students to see, here's how you would approach it. So not in all of it in alt text. We're going to keep the description below. So let's give this something for the screen reader to read. You don't want it to just be nothing. So let's say chlorine element from periodic table. So this, going off of what I researched that an actual blind student said, she said to write photo shows. You might say diagram shows, whatever you want, but I'm just going to say photo shows chlorine element from periodic table. When the screen reader reads it, boom, okay, there it is. That's what the picture is. And so I'm done with my alt text. So that's what the screen reader will read. But I still have my short description underneath it. So I can say, but the other thing, so photo shows chlorine element from periodic table, and then we can say, I think what I prefer to say is description below image. I feel like I want to make sure everything they do is easy to navigate. And I couldn't find a good, here's what you should say, always type of thing. So I'm kind of going off of if a screen reader is reading through everything and it reads through the first paragraph, once it hits the image, what do I want them to hear? It would be photo shows chlorine element from periodic table, description below image. So they know that what's below the image is actually more regarding the image. So then in the short description, you could say something like the diagram so I'm going to go ahead and go off of my alt text. The chlorine element diagram shows properties from the element chlorine from the periodic table of elements, and then it gives all the information that's actually on the diagram. This is probably far from perfect, but it does give the student who's using a screen reader all the same information that a student not using a screen reader would have. And also it's making sure that once the screen reader jumps on that symbol, it actually is reading something. Again, so we want to put something on every single image unless it's decorative. So that one I would say, okay, we're done. The other option that you can do is to take the entire description. I'm going to cut that. And if it's only 3 or 4 sentences, one of the students said they actually prefer an alt text. Now this is where, like in this case, everything's shown within the graphic. So you could put everything in the alt text because that's what the screen reader will read, what's in the alt text. So it's still being read. So we could say in the alt text, photo shows chlorine element from periodic table. And then take out that extra little piece I have, properties for element chlorine from periodic table, blah, blah, blah. And then hit done. And now it's all basically within the image. So you have to decide, do you want your other students to see it? Is it text you want them to see? If it already has text on there, maybe they don't need to see it. Otherwise, you could just put it on the alt text. And what I want to also point out is in terms of characters, I don't know how many characters that is, but it's below 4 sentences, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it as a short description in the alt text. So those are the 2 options. And the second diagram we have here is a little bit longer description. And I have separate videos I'm making regarding not giving the answer when you actually put alt text on an image. Because in this case, sometimes I have this piecewise graph that sometimes I tell them what type of graph this is. So if I title it piecewise graph, I've given them the answer. Or in other cases, I want to know where it's increasing and decreasing. So if I were to describe this first line segment and say increasing from -2 to -1 or something like that in the description, I've just given them the answer. So those type of issues in terms of how to write it up so you're not giving the students the answer in science and math, those will be addressed. So the big comment I want to make regarding all that is that I think it's going to have to be an ongoing discussion and collaboration in terms of the standards that everyone's using in each department and how you're approaching these things. Just like you would ask each other advice on how should I address this exam question? Should it be this tough? Should it, we always collaborate on things. This is going to have to be a new form of collaboration for all us faculty, I think. So anyways, my point being, this does not have, I don't think, any good alt text. So if I go to image options, piecewise graph example. Now again, I could title it what I want. The PNG, you don't need that on there. But if I wanted to just say piecewise graph, I could just do that. But again, I want to show them. So think of your text that's going with the graph, that you're describing the graph, whether you put it below or in the alt text. In the alt text, it's already connected. Screen reader's reading it right off the image in the alt text. If you don't put it on the alt text, the idea is connections. That's what we're going to focus on. It has to be connected to the image, not just, oh, here's a new paragraph of text. So piecewise graph, description follows graph or is below graph. Okay, so I have the alt text, and then I have this description here. I put graph has no title because I thought I was going to put this in alt text, but I could take that out and just say the horizontal axis runs from here to here, And there are, just like with captioning and how we're saying things in videos, to approach this in a true accessible way, how you write your descriptions in terms of what to write out and how long. There's guidelines for those as well, but not a lot for math and science. So again, in later videos, I'll be addressing the math and science aspect of writing descriptions. But I wrote this description. It's a short one. It's about 3 or 4 sentences. I think it borders on almost a long description, but I'd be comfortable putting it as a short description to show you what it would be like if I decided to do it entirely as alt text, which in this case I think I would be comfortable with doing so. This is how long it would be. I think I'd be fine with that. I believe we need to get a lot more student input on what they actually are preferring to hear. So that gives you the idea of level 1, short descriptions, and how to go about them for your images.